Petra's Emilia camp struggle. Page 1, edited machine translation. Petra. Really, everyone thinks that I won't be angry, they're all so pig-headed. A young girl with a puffy red face, Petra vented her frustrations. This is a girl with slightly bright reddish-brown hair and clear round eyes. Although she is not yet mature, her body is already slightly feminine. You can use the word endearing in order to describe this combination of features. Her budding body is wrapped up in her usual maid's uniform and exudes an aura that makes people think that she'll grow up to be a beauty just by looking at her. Frankly speaking, she is a beautiful girl whose future deserves to be looked forward to. But right now, this beautiful girl with such potential is clenching her fist, giving an extremely passionate speech with great enthusiasm. And the content of it is Petra. Emilia Nisama is a total airhead. Ram Nisama just slacks off all day. I've asked Otto-san to take a break, but he still works crazily non-stop like a machine. Garfield-san keeps burying the knives that he bit into deep in the soil of the garden. Subaru-kun does not notice my feelings. Beatrice-jan is so cunning. The master does not reflect, and Otto-san does not sleep at all. Petra, who was employed at the Roswell mansion, listed the names and problems of everyone she thought were close to her. The girl, who was counting on her fingers, had in her mind the people who were very important to her, but at the same time very were worrisome to her. Then, after quickly venting her dissatisfaction with these people, Petra gently stroked her slightly bulged chest. Petra, really? The only one who can ease my mind is Frederica Nisama. It truly gives me a headache. After a long sigh, it all came down to the woman she respects. Petra's words did not sound like a complaint or an anecdote about a frivolous love affair. Of course, this should not be heard by the people mentioned above, nor did it sound like a one-man play with a wall. So, who is Petra talking to? Stranger. Petra-chan, why are you telling me all this? The person who said that was a blue-haired girl the same age as Petra, lazily looking at her head. She is a girl with long hair that ends in a braid and is wearing thin black pajamas. The young girl's looks were no less comparable with Petra's, and her body exudes an aura that does not match those of her age. The young lady tilted her head and yawned while covering her lips. Stranger, I don't think there is anything I can do for you. Petra, no, I just want to talk to you about it. In response to the girl's cold response, Petra fearlessly leaned towards her. Maintaining her composure, Petra continued. Petra, because, Meili, aren't you bored being alone all the time, right? I'm here to talk to you. Meili, Petra, you really are a good person. Facing Petra's nonchalant claims, the girl called Meili was left a little speechless, and then she shrugged helplessly and parted her lips. Petra Leti is only 13 years old and is the youngest girl in the Emilia camp. It should be said that she is still a child, and everyone in the camp loves her unconditionally. Regarding this fact, she felt love from everyone and felt very blessed. However, although Petra accepts this blissful fact, she is unwilling to rely on such an environment. Petra still remembers that there was a time when she was too prideful and made too many mistakes that were unwelcomed and shameful. After an in-depth reflection, she secretly made up her mind. Before relying on others, she must do her best to do everything that she can. For Petra, who holds this kind of mindset, the people in the mansion are tricky enemies. After all, these people will spoil Petra whenever they have a chance. And in unison, they relied on the fact that they were older, insisting on the adult theory that it is only natural for adults to spoil children. This is too cunning. No matter how hard Petra works, she can't change her age. Therefore, they are really super cunning for using this as a weapon. Having said that, Petra hopes that the people who wielded an invincible weapon, the banner of adults, would show a consistent attitude. Although Emilia and Beatrice always proclaim to be older, they look too adorable on the outside to come off as adults. Otto is indeed very smart, and Garfield is also fairly strong, but isn't the cunning and powerful Roswell the pinnacle of human trash? In other words, both Otto and Garfield are both useless existences. On this point, Subaru is neither too strong nor too smart, but he's super gentle, so his score is only worth 1,000,000 points. It's just that Subaru always makes himself suffer in order to protect others. He is very worrisome. Although she wants to support him normally and get close to him, But because she has never given up on her admiration for him, she can't guarantee that she can accomplish these wishes normally. In addition, there is Ram, who can obviously do anything she wants, but has a lazy attitude and poor taste for men. At this point, Petra's evaluation of the members of the Emilia camp has ended. In summary, all of the members require Petra's help. If this were to be heard by people who claim to be adults, Petra would be afraid of her image being defined as an evil instructor who evaluates scores without mercy. Petra. Of course, everyone except for Frederick and Isama. Meili. Petra-chan, aren't you just too deeply invested in the role of being an old and caring mother? Listening to Petra's complaints, Meili, who was playing with a doll while sitting on the side of the bed, sighed. The place where they talked is the secret confinement room under the Roswell mansion. It is a basement that simply bears such a name. For the time being, it has a design where you can only lock the entrance from the outside, so it can also lock the people inside, and except for that, it doesn't have any other special jail functions. A bed, desk, living room, and even clothing. All kinds of daily necessities are readily available. In addition to the goodwill care, the interior decoration is also luxurious. This is the home of the girl who was sent to Roswell's mansion as an assassin and attempted to take the lives of Petra, Subaru, and the others, but was imprisoned because of her failure. Of course, this method of dealing with the defeated Meili also caused considerable controversy in the Roswell mansion. Considering her position, she is undoubtedly a dangerous individual who has been hostile towards them. In addition, she has the divine protection that can manipulate demon beasts as she pleases, so it is very difficult to completely subdue her. Despite this, they still decided to keep her in the mansion, on the one hand, to find out her behind-the-scenes relationships, and on the other hand, there is also Subaru's defense of her. However, the main reason for this decision is because the latter has greater influence. Meili, since I failed my mission, if I go back like this, I will definitely be killed. Speaking frankly without any fear, Meili also expected the way she would be imprisoned. As a result, Meili was confined as a prisoner in the basement of the mansion and lived a life of imprisonment. Of course, Petra has also been warned by the people in the mansion that even if Meili is already imprisoned, she must not let her guard down around her. But Meili, I don't even know when it started. You don't even bring guards with you anymore. Petra, Meili, did you just say something? Meili, I said this mansion is full of careless and worrisome people, Petra. Ah, Meili, you think so too. Me too. In response to Meili's sigh, Petra giggled in agreement. It feels that everyone's high level of vigilance towards Meili has become nominal. During this year, Subaru and Emilia were completely ensnared by Meili, who was not even resisting. They were completely defenseless. And this kind of defenseless performance can be clearly seen throughout this confinement room. For example, Meili received carefully handmade dolls by Subaru, as well as the bedding selected by Emilia, and so on. It is guessed that besides Petra, Otto is probably the only one who is still keeping a good eye on her. Meili, Petra-chan, you really are a capable child. Petra, yes, that's right. My memory is especially good. Taking a sip of the tea she brought, Petra smiled brightly at Meili's words. Yes, she has a good memory. She can do anything smoothly and thoughtfully, and most of her work can be done quickly and easily. In addition, her face is also very cute. It is because of these things given to her by her parents that she can stay here. Petra will never forget that Meili once set off a fierce demon beast fiasco in her home village Arlam. The same was true for the mansion battle following it. Only the fact that Meili is a dangerous girl she will never forget. She comes into contact with her with such topics consciously in her mind. Meili, that being said, why do you come here often? Petra, if the feelings arise, even if you have any intentions, you would naturally choose to give up. Therefore, I will speak to you. It is fine for you to like me just like this. Meili, seeing Meili, who lost her interest in an instant when she heard those words, Petra's mood lightened a little. Facing Meili, whose attitude is like that of an adult, is extremely disproportionate to her appearance. Petra wonders when she began taking revenge in this kind of way. If these bickering conversations continue, will she one day choose to forgive her? Petra was clueless about the future. Meili, Despite Petra-chan being so gentle, she can't forgive that strange clown makeup-wearing nobleman. Petra. The master is another matter. I can't see any form of reflection from him, so that's why I can't forgive him. Turning her face away, Petra expressed her dissatisfaction with Roswal, who still treated her as if nothing had happened. Roswal, who was carrying out various strange plans in the sanctuary and in the mansion, was reprimanded by Emilia for his conspiracies and seemed determined to change. It should have been like that, but it is doubtful as to whether that will really happen. His unpleasant attitude still exists today, and Petra is plagued by it every day. Petra. Emilia Nisama said that Master is just a child who likes causing trouble. But in fact, Emilia's evaluation of Roswal is very accurate, and Roswal does not refute this, which is very interesting. Having been a maid for a year, Petra has a clear image of Emilia's image as a candid, innocent, and a downright good person, as well as her being defenseless against other people. Such a beautiful adult is really a miraculous existence. However, it is precisely because Emilia has such a clear pair of eyes that she can see through Roswal's twisted nature. It's really awe-inspiring. Of course, respect and antagonism are two different things, and Petra's girlish heart is really complicated. Meili, but don't you still have to go out with the master? Isn't the traveling plan made by Oni-san and that half-devil Nisan a mistake? Petra? Yes, really super unlucky, Meili. Aha. Petra-chan is really revealing a very unpleasant face. It's not cute at all. Petra answered in a deep voice with a serious face, while Meili laughed loudly. The meeting of the Western Borders leaders, this is the name of the meeting to be held in a few days. And the one who is to preside over this meeting is Roswal, the great nobleman who was appointed as the kingdom's court magician, and held a vast territory with many people. In this way, he promised to provide full support as the backer of the candidate Emilia in becoming the next king. Therefore, people in his territory must naturally adopt a policy of supporting Emilia. However, the progress of its work was unable to proceed smoothly due to the matter of Emilia's lineage. In order to persuade these anxious and opposing powerful people, Roswal ran around everywhere this year, and the final adjustments are to be made during this meeting. In other words, this is an important meeting discussing the future of the Emilia camp, and Petra herself voluntarily agreed to act as an entourage. For Petra, who has to learn everything, this is an opportunity. As a member of the camp, she wants to participate in the learning process. However, Petra, that meeting unexpectedly collided with Subaru and the date of their travel, Meili. Aren't they just going on a trip? And now, even if it's a little trip, the distance between those two won't grow any closer. Petra, I don't have that kind of worry. I want to see the Watergate City too. Petra immediately refuted Meili's suspicion, then sighed at her ill luck. Watergate City, Pristella. This is the name of the city where Subaru, Emilia, Beatrice, and the other two are about to head for. They are setting off to the city known as the City of Water, one of the 5 largest cities in Lugunica. The invitation came from one of the candidates for the election who's in the same position as Emilia. Petra. However, their work cannot be finished within one day, Meili. Originally, it might have been possible to go street shopping with Oni-san. Petra. That's right, don't let me have unrealized fantasies. Really, Meili is really cold-hearted. Meili. Of course, I'm an assassin. Meili smiled while snickering, pointed to herself, and reported her dangerous profession. Petra's eyes widened at her attitude, and then she shrugged helplessly. Meili, Allah, what kind of reaction was that? Petra, it's this kind of place. Meili is acting just like the master. Meili squinted her eyes when she heard Petra's words. Acting like a wicked person, pretending to be a dangerous person. She must be doing this in order to keep Petra away from her. This naive approach must have stemmed from her negative thoughts. In a sense, she is also a troublesome child like Roswal. Petra. However, comparing you with the wicked things that Master would do, he wins. I'm sorry, Meili, I compared you with the Master. Meili. The clown who can make Petra-chan say such a thing is probably indeed more excessive. Of course. That kind of supervillain, Roswal is the only one. Petra will probably never forgive him for a lifetime. Therefore, Roswal will also never forget what he has done for the rest of his life. However, thinking this is also playing right into Roswell's hands, and the thought of that makes her frustrated. Petra, it's already that time. It's about time for me to start preparing to go. Looking at the engraved magic crystals on the basement wall, Petra realized that she had stayed too long. By the way, the engraved magic crystal is cutely decorated by the skillful hands of Subaru and Emilia, which wiped out the depressing atmosphere that should have belonged to the confinement room. Meili, if Petra-chan goes out, is the one staying in the mansion Petra-chan's favorite one-san? Petra, no, it's going to be Ramni-sama. Meili, are you okay with not eating for a week? Meili, I really hope you can give a good reminder to the one-san with pink hair. Petra, Fufu, just kidding, probably. Even if it's Ram, she probably wouldn't forget to give food to Meili. However, Petra was still a little worried, so she made up her mind to leave a letter to convey the matter to her well. After packing the tea set she had brought, Petra looked back at Meili. Then, gently put her hand into her pocket. Petra, Meili, I'll leave this to you. Meili, what is this, a handkerchief? Petra, yes, a handkerchief. I want you to tie it on my right wrist. To Meili, who tilted her head and looking confused as Petra gave her a white handkerchief, Petra smiled towards her. This is a spell that protects the journey. Although it is different from the original meaning of the spell, it has the feeling of doing something big, like embarking on a journey. Even if it is only a superstition, it is still meaningful. Meili, Petra-chan really is an amazing person. Feeling Petra's energetic aura, Meili smiled knowingly, and then gently tied the handkerchief that was handed over on Petra's slender wrist. Meili, be careful on the road. Be sure to pay attention to your surroundings. Petra, Meili, you too. You will gain weight if you eat up all of the steamed potatoes. The two girls looked at each other and smiled and said a brief parting. Although it was a little strange or even a little out of harmony, it was still a conversation between friends. This is a page that exists in Petra Leighty's blissful life. End.